Hello everyone, it's Danzy. Before we get started, I just want to let everyone know that this review does contain criticism of the show. So if you're looking for purely positive talking points, I recommend that you give this video a pass. This is also going to be a non-linear review that's light on recap, so I do recommend that you watch the episode beforehand so you know what's going on and can avoid spoilers. Alright, let's get started. Now, I did have some issues with the Winterfell scenes. The bit with Arya and the guards took up way too much time, in my opinion. After about 30 seconds of this, I was like, oh my god, guys, just please let her in so that we can move on with things that are actually important in this storyline. I'm still finding the choices for Bran's character to be frustrating. It was made all the more clear with Meera's scene that, yeah, Robot Bran is here to stay, which is a shame because these two could have had a really beautiful scene together. However, despite this, Winterfell was by far my favorite part of this episode. I saw a few people saying that there should have been a lot more emotion between Sansa and Arya in the crypts because they each thought that the other was dead, but I somewhat disagree with this criticism. Even though these two love each other very much, they've never been able to really relate to each other. And when you meet up again with someone like that after so long, it's not that you're unhappy to see them, it's just that you might not know what to say. I don't blame people for making these statements, because they aren't wholly incorrect, and it's a very valid argument. But as someone who has two sisters who are very different from me, I totally get this. I love my sisters, but on the few occasions a year that we do hang out, it's awkward because the three of us have nothing in common and lead totally different lives. I know I'm waffling on with a personal story, but it's a long way of saying that if you're not close with someone, reunions, even with family, can make you feel like you're talking to a total stranger. I kinda want to hear your guys' thoughts on this scene especially, so let me know if you agree or disagree. I did find the fight between Brienne and Arya to be a bit fanservice-y, but it was ultimately pretty innocent. They took time out to have two characters bond, and that's something I can never be mad at. It's nice to see a friendship develop out of something other than just a political alliance, and I think this was Arya's way of apologizing for not trusting her back at the Vale. I'm also excited to see the Stark kids go all Hardy Boys on this dagger thing, and maybe even work together to take down Littlefinger. They all have really different and unique skill sets. Like, look at this, you have a great Westeros Brawls team right here. I'd love to see them slowly put all the pieces together in the same way that their dad did in Season 1. If this is what they're going for, and I do think it is, then I'm really interested to see what happens. Bonus points if they do some reconnecting along the way. And see if you can fix Bran while you're at it, girls. On the technical side of things, the scene in the cave was way too dark. Now, I'm sure you're rolling your eyes at me like, well yeah, stupid, caves are supposed to be dark. But from a filming perspective, your audience needs to be able to see what's going on. There's a reason why this scene from Indiana Jones looks like this, even though we all know that in reality it should look like this. I bring this up less as a specific case and more of an across-the-board issue, because I often find myself having to crank up the brightness on my monitor and turn off all the lights in the room in order to fully see everything in these darker shots. However, I am an old woman of 26. So maybe my eyes are just bad. But anyways, I actually really liked the stuff in the cave. After last week, I was left feeling pretty tired of scenes where two people just stood in a room and robotically recited backstory. The cave paintings are a storytelling tool that works a lot better because you not only have a visual point of interest that benefits the viewer, but also a physical tie-in from the events of the past to the present characters who are also using this information. Jon and Daenerys just discovered something at the exact same point we did. Contrast this to last week's episode where Daenerys awkwardly read the Torrhen Stark wiki page to a room full of characters who already knew all of this. One is an example of good exposition, because it's presented in an interesting way, impacts the characters, and pushes the plot forward. Bad exposition is boring, has no influence on the characters, and grinds things to a halt to explain things to its audience. This was done well, and I'd like to see more of it. One last thing I want to touch on with these scenes is that I wish there had been a longer scene between Jon and Theon, because the very small bit they gave us had the potential to be really, really interesting. So, I'll bring up my issues with this scene first, because I genuinely do have good things to say about it. I know a lot of people like Bran, but for me personally, his charm wore off a few seasons ago. Now it just feels like his character is written by a 12-year-old. Like, ahaha, Dickon's name is funny because it sounds like Dick. Good one. Also, did you guys know that Bran is a badass who bathed in the blood of his enemies since he was 5 years old? Unlike this preppy, who has a perfectly human reaction to killing his childhood friends and seeing war for the first time. God, what a loser, am I right? I kinda doubt that this is the case, but I think this would have been the perfect time to kill Bran off. His character is as explored as it's going to get, and I can't imagine that there's going to be a better chance than this for him to go out in a blaze of glory. In the same vein, I think it would have been a lot more interesting had Drogon been more seriously injured. Daenerys losing the Tyrells, Greyjoys, and Martells is a drop in the bucket compared to something happening to her dragons, and I think it would be interesting to play around with that idea. So, these are two changes I personally would have made to increase the stakes going forward. Also, how did nobody see a horde of Dothraki and a dragon until they were already on top of them? You can't land a Dothraki army on the coast and just sneak them inland without anybody seeing you. They could maybe get away with this if this was the Unsullied, who are well-trained in guerrilla warfare, but a dragon with a group of screaming Dothraki getting the jump on two seasoned commanders of all people. I'm not sure I can buy this show, I'm sorry. There's a few smaller logistical things like this that don't really connect, but visually the battle itself was really good. I have nothing bad to say about the amazing effects, sound editing, and stunt work. It's clear that a lot of money and care went into this, which resulted in some really nice eye candy. It's exactly what I'd imagine a dragon burning a whole bunch of people to death would look like, so I can't complain. This is a pretty short scene, but I did want to talk about it. Tycho Nestorius and Cersei wait, the Golden Company? If they try to shove the entire young Griff plot from the books into the 9 remaining episodes, that's going to crash and burn horribly, so I doubt that's what they're doing. But are they just going to be faceless randos who bolster Cersei's numbers? Is this a catalyst for Daario coming back? Like, thematically, what's the point of including these guys? I mean, I'm not against the idea of the Golden Company making an appearance. I'm just puzzled as to why they suddenly decided to have them pop up. It feels a bit random, but we'll see, I guess. Well, you can probably tell from my lack of a bad section that I thought this episode was pretty good. I mean, there was an actual positive post-mortem reference to Stannis. How could I not like this? There was some stuff that could have used some fine-tuning, like a few scenes being cut to free up screen time for the more interesting moments to really shine, and a couple of plot holes getting sewn up, but overall I do think this has been the best episode of the season so far. It felt like the most well-rounded package. But, as always, I want to hear what you guys have to say, so let me know in the comments. Also be sure to like, subscribe, and share the video if you enjoyed it. And if you want to further support the channel, head on over to my Patreon where you can get some cool rewards for donating. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.